Guess where I'm from? No joke, I'm from Venice, California. You can check it online. I'm not lying. How about having John McCain be my warm-up act? I'm from Venice. I grew up in Arizona. I mean, that's perfect. So this summer, family takes a vacation. See this big rock in the middle of the swimming hole, swimming river type of thing, and we go out and we're like, all right, let's go climb up that thing. So we go over and we kind of figure out how we're going to scamper up it into the moms in the room. We made sure that there was nothing down below. There was no sticks or rocks. It was very deep. And we scamper up and we get up to the top and we were like, oh, beep. What are we going to do? All right, our idea was to jump, but we're kind of peering over the edge and like, I don't want to do this. And your head's racing and you're like, this is impossible. I shouldn't do it. What if? And then finally jumped. And guess what happened? Everybody else on the rock started jumping. My 9-year-old started jumping. My 11-year-old started jumping. Everybody started jumping. So seconds before, everybody said, no, can't. It's impossible. Can't do it. And then all of a sudden, everybody started doing it. And for me, that's the fallacy of impossible. And impossible is this incredible concept because you can't name anything today. You can't name anything today that wasn't impossible first. Right? Think about that for a second. It's not a trick question. Look around this room, lights and cameras and projection and Snapchat and all of these things, right? Stacked potato chips. I mean, like everything. Everything was impossible before it was possible. Go back even further. That's kind of the obvious stuff. How about woven clothes? Go back even further, depending on your religious beliefs. How about walking upright, right? All of these things were impossible before they became possible. So here's the crazy thing then. You have this phenomenon that happens is that you have these people that come along and they take something like Bannister. Never in all of recorded history had anyone ever broken the 4-minute mile. Recorded history in this town, you guys get recorded history. Nobody ever broke it. He goes around, 1954, breaks the 4-minute mile, and what happens? His rival Landy comes and 6 weeks later breaks it. Hillary climbs Everest. Everest looks like a KOA now. So you have these things that are going on. I mean, and let us not forget the most significant accomplishment of the last 6 months, the rock jump, right? On vacation. So you have all these incredible things that are happening, and it's really about permission, right? Someone does it, and then it gives carte blanche to everybody else to go and do it. And we've seen this in kind of the classic things, jumping out of satellites, and you see these in the little things. And you see this in your own life. Oh, I got an idea. Boss says not going to do it. Someone else does it, and now the impossible becomes possible. So for me, I have a company. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Non-Impossible Labs. And what we do is based on this premise of technology, but I came from a world of technology for animation and entertainment and things like that. Now what we do is technology for the sake of humanity. And what that means is, how do you take a piece of technology, how do you take something and you crack it open or break it or modify it in some way, duct tape it and zip tie it back together so it accomplishes a fundamental social and human need. And then we try to make that accessible, either free or DIY, open source, or we just keep the cost as low as we can so people can have access to that. So we've got a slew of different things that we're working on at Non-Impossible, and I'll talk about a couple of them right now. If you were here last year, you heard me talk about this, the iWriter. The iWriter was an invention that my team did where we identified an artist who was paralyzed with ALS, and he hadn't drawn anything for 7 years. We brought together glasses from the Venice Beach Boardwalk, a coat hanger, and a web camera, hacked it open, and he drew again for the first time. Well, the way that it works is Tempt is lying motionless in his bed, and he moves his eyes like this, and when he wants to pick up or place down the cursor, he blinks. That's the binary switch of clicking, like what everyone here does with their mouse, is blinking. Well, ALS has taken over, so now his eyes don't blink as rapidly as they could. It's hard to blink your eye. So now what we've come up with is a device called the Brain Writer. It's an evolution of the iWriter. And what that does is we're looking at measuring the EEG signals that your brain gives off, and we're replacing blinking with thinking, so he can draw again. We're doing a project right now, and this is a project that I'm incredibly excited about called Walk Not Impossible. And Walk Not Impossible came as an outpouring of a project that I talked about last year as well, called Project Daniel. I went to Sudan, I went to the Nuba Mountains, and I set up the world's first 3D printing prosthetic laboratory. And we started to print 3D prosthetics for the children of war over there, and then taught their village how to continue it after I left. Well, they got all this press and notoriety, and it was kind of spread all over the world. So people started coming in and talking like, hey, can you do this? Or, hey, I want to help you with that. And a hospital in Mexico City had me come down and tour their hospital, and it's a pediatric rehabilitation hospital. So I got there, did my tour. As I was checking in, they said, oh, Mr. Ebeling, welcome, and wanted you to know, we've already seen, it's noon, and we've already seen 1,200 kids. I was like, whew. I mean, even if it's 50% rule, 600 kids by noon is a lot. So I got through the tour. The last room they take me to is the kind of the tech room. They save the best for last. And they take me to this room here, if you could roll video. And in this room, there's this little girl, and she's kind of hooked up to this thing, and she's walking on this contraption. I said, what is that? And they said, it's a gait trainer. And a gait trainer, little girl named Du, has cerebral palsy. And I didn't know anything about cerebral palsy. And they said, well, cerebral palsy, basically, the brain is trying to tell the legs, walk. So I do that, and I walk this way. But with her, the signal's not getting to the legs. So what this does is it actually trains the body from the muscles up, shoots the signal back into the brain. And I said, that's incredible. And they said, I said, tell me more. She said, if they use this, if a child uses this for about a year, there's a high probability that she'll become ambulatory, she'll walk. And I said, and what happens if they don't? They said, well, they have to use kind of the parallel bars and the crutches and conventional therapy, and it's just probably not. And I said, so use it and she walks, don't use it and she doesn't, she won't walk. And they said, yeah, kind of. I said, dude, why don't you have an entire floor of these things? It should look like an arcade, right? They had so many kids who need this. And he said, we'd love to. We can't afford them. They're prohibitively expensive. And I went, it's a treadmill. Like the MasterCard campaign treadmill, $300. Climbing straps from REI, $67. Squat rack, I said, what are you talking about? He's like, they're like $500,000. And I said, what? Are you serious? I said, all right, I'll be right back. So I went back, and the way that we work is we build consortiums of people that are smarter than us. I guess Reagan did that too, so I'm not in bad company. But we call it people who make us feel stupid. We surround ourselves with people who make us feel stupid. So we got a bunch of people with initials behind their names, and we started to hack and program and come up with different ways to go about this. And we came up with a lot of, we thought, brilliant things. And at the end, the intern in the back of the room, Joel, raised his hand. He said, oh, hey, Mick, do you mind if I say something? I said, yeah, sure, Joel, what do you got? He said, well, first of all, you guys are all really smart. And I should have seen this one coming a mile away. He said, so it's really amazing. I'm honored to be in the room with you guys. And I said, yeah, come on, Joel. He said, well, what I was thinking is that, it's really great, but what if we untethered the patient, and what if we built an exoskeleton and mounted a mid-sized gyroscope in the back and created algorithms that measure the force exertion of them as they get stronger? It spins down the gyroscope. So the gyroscope kind of keeps them from their lateral movement from falling over. And as they get stronger, it'll spin down so they can keep themselves up. And as the founder of Not Impossible, I said the most mature and encouraging thing you would expect me to say. Shut up, Joel. And then you heard everyone's jaw hitting the table. And I'm happy to tell you that literally right now, we are checking messages as I'm coming off. We have been working over the last year to create a low-cost, rehabilitative exoskeleton that will be a fraction of the cost of what we were first exposed to. And I'm happy to tell you that will roll off any second. We had a Fortune 500 brand come and underwrite it. We're working with these brilliant engineers. We're going to go into clinical trial, or we won't call it clinical trials. We're going into trials, and then we're going to roll that around and actually get into the hospital in Mexico City. And our mandate is to have 1,000 kids walk again in the next 2 years. Thank you. And guess who was the lead kind of team on this? Joel. Joel and his group of hackers and robotics club members, they were the ones that kind of set us on that course to get to where we are now. So for us, our process at Not Impossible is really quite simple. I write about it in my book. It's you commit, then you figure out how the hell you're going to pull it off. Right? And it's this incredibly empowering thing that happens because we adopt a mentality of what I call beautiful, limitless naivete. Because when you don't know that you're not supposed to be able to do something, you don't not do it. You just do it. And so what we do is when we're going through this process, we look for what we call morsels of permission. We look for these opportunities of like, hey, what about that? Let's take a little piece of that and a little piece of that. And we can say, well, we don't have the exact thing, but if we take a couple of those things and put them together, maybe that'll be our solution. So now it's your turn. I'm willing to bet the majority of the people in this room and in this town have far more initials behind their name than me. I've got 0, so you're already going there. The question that you have to ask yourself is why it needs to be made, not how. The how, you'll figure out the how. An artist needs to draw again. A child needs to walk again. That's the why. And things will congregate. Things will mobilize behind you to figure out how that happens or how that should happen. And I would ask you guys, why not now? What are you waiting for? If you guys want to help, if you've got resources, if you've got brilliance, if you've got tech, if you've got geekdom, if you've got whatever, you've got ideas of things that need to be made, finances, whatever, I'm the easiest person in the world to get a hold of. Our company's the easiest place to get a hold of. You already have permission. Everybody here has permission to go do this. You just have to jump. Thank you guys very much.